And I now give the floor to His Excellency Peter Szijjarto, Minister for External Affairs of Hungary.
Mr. President, Excellencies, dear colleagues, it's an honor for me to stand here in front of such a distinguished audience, especially in 2016, the year which marks the 60th anniversary of 1956, when Hungarian people stood up and fought for their freedom against the communist oppression. In 1956, Hungary has not received external help, so our revolution and fight for freedom was defeated. But the heroic efforts of the freedom fighters of ours gave us the strength to survive the dictatorship and to finally gain freedom in 1990. So, Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, today I can stand here in front of you as a representative of a free and proud nation, a nation which is proud of her traditions, culture, Christianity, and fights for freedom in the past. Mr. President, dear colleagues, obviously there is no need to say here that the world has been facing enormous global challenges, challenges which led to dramatic changes regarding the world order we have been used to recently. Let me just emphasize three of these important factors that led to the change of world order. Number one, all of us witness and unfortunately experience the worldwide spread of terrorist organizations. Day by day, we witness the destabilization of some key and vulnerable regions of the world, and day by day we experience the fact that around 60 to 65 million people globally are on the move or being displaced because of various reasons. So these three factors have led to dramatic changes in the world order. And I think it's not an exaggeration anymore to say that we are in the 24th hour to divert these changes into a positive direction. But in order to reach this target, we have to be successful globally, together all of us, in carrying out three global policy efforts. Number one, we have to eliminate the key factor of global terrorism, namely, we have to eliminate ISIS. Until we finally destroy ISIS, there will be no peace and no stability in the southern and southeastern neighborhood of Europe, namely in the Middle East and in the North African region. Until we finally destroy ISIS, thousands and thousands of people will still be forced to leave their homes. And until we finally destroy ISIS, Christian communities will still be threatened and will be under extremely heavy attacks. And until we finally destroy ISIS, migratory pressure will not decrease on Europe. Number two, we have to eliminate the global network of human traffickers. We have to destroy their business models, and we have to admit that these networks have caused death of thousands of innocent people, and I guess we all agree that their crimes against humanity must not remain unpunished. And number three, we have to change the migratory policies which inspire people to take the life hazard, which inspire people to violate borders, and which inspire people to move to countries which are multiple thousands of miles away from their homes. And migration and the challenge of migration is an extremely serious issue. That's why instead of emotional debates, we need debates based on common sense and rationality. Instead of accusing and bashing each other, we have to stand on the very stable basis of international law. I think it is especially proper to say it in this very house. And what international law says? International law says that right to a safe life is a fundamental human right. But a country to pick where you want to live in is not a fundamental human right. And we have to make clear that there's no excuse for violating borders between two safe and peaceful countries. Mr. President, dear colleagues, regarding Hungary, I am proud to report to you that with the policies we have been carrying out in Hungary, we were successful to contribute to divert the recent global challenges to the right direction. Number one, Hungary is among those 23 countries in the world who send troops to fight ISIS, to fight against ISIS. There are 143 Hungarian men and women who have been taking part in actions against ISIS, serving in Iraq as a force protection unit and as trainers of the Peshmergas. We have sent significant amount of ammunition to the Peshmerga army, and we have been taking part in the rehabilitation program of the wounded Peshmerga. And we are just about to start to carry out training for the officials of the Iraqi army. In this case, Mr. President, I would like to mention that we urge ICC, the International Criminal Court, to start to investigate crimes committed by ISIS against the Christian communities. We regret and we find it unacceptable that after sending letters to the Prosecutor General of ICC, no real action based on this initiative has been made, and we are of course sad because of the Security Council was not ready to refer the situation in Syria to ICC either. Hereby, I would like to take the opportunity to inform you that the Hungarian government has established a state secretariat which monitor the position of Christian communities all over the world, which monitor whether there are persecutions against these Christian communities, and which organize help for such communities when and where it is necessary, because we want to avoid that the cruel crimes committed against Christian communities remain unpunished. Number two, ladies and gentlemen, regarding human trafficking, the Hungarian Parliament has adopted stringent regulations against human traffickers, which can serve as best practice in global struggle against smuggling networks. And number three, regarding migration. Dear colleagues, Hungary puts security of Hungarian people to the first place. We have protected our borders so far, and we will not allow mass violation of our borders in the future either. We have to make clear that in the meantime, there are migratory policies all around the world which have failed. Migratory policies which consider every migrant refugees have failed. Migratory policies which want to force countries to receive thousands of migrants against the will of their own citizens have failed. And migratory policies based on accusation of countries who protect their own borders have failed as well. Mr. President, the uncontrolled and unregulated mass migration offered opportunity for terrorist organizations to send their fighters and to send their terrorists to other countries and continents. The outcome and the consequence of this uncontrolled and unregulated mass migration in Europe is a growing threat of terror and a worsening public security situation. It's obvious now that people in Europe expect European politicians to put the restoration of security in Europe on the top of all European policies. Our position, dear colleagues, is absolutely clear. We have to take help where it is necessary. We have to help the people to stay as close to their homes as it is just possible, because that will allow them to return to their homes as soon as the crises are over. That's why we, the international community, have to support Turkey, Jordan, Lebanon, and the Kurdish regional government in Iraq, because these countries and this region have been taking care of millions of refugees. And if we do not help them, and if these countries and regions become unstable, then these people will hit the road, will take the life hazard, and will hit the road towards Europe, and Europe will not be able to take such kind of a challenge. Hungary has contributed 3 million euros to the Medet Fund, and we made a 5 million euro pledge to build a hospital in Syria, and we offered a special scholarship program for youngsters from Syria to Hungary, because we have to take the help where it is needed. And Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, we have to link our development projects and funding programs to conditionality. I think we expect the beneficiary countries, with a good reason, to carry out the necessary reforms in order to create conditions for people not to be forced to leave their homelands. United Nations must play a very important role in settling these serious conflicts and in overcoming these serious challenges. But in order UN to be able to play an important role in all of this, we need credibility. That's why Hungary joined the ACT group here within the UN, because we think we have to improve accountability and transparency of the United Nations. It especially refers to the election process of the Secretary General. We would like to congratulate President of the General Assembly, Mr. Likatov, to enter into a new phase of the election of Secretary General by organizing hearing and increasing the role in this process of the General Assembly. And finally, dear colleagues, let me speak as a representative of a country from Central Europe. The Central European region has to face pretty difficult and complicated challenges regarding energy security. There's a war in Ukraine, we have tensions on the Western Balkan region, and we have to deal with the Russia-Europe relationship. The Central and Eastern European countries form a country group here within the UN, from which country group there has been no Secretary General so far during the more than 70-year history of the United Nations. So here we are seeking for the generosity of all other 4 country groups to have a Central European Secretary General, this time of the United Nations. A Secretary General from Central Europe who would understand the mindset of the Central European people, who would understand the region, and who would understand the challenges. Such a Secretary General would be very helpful to contribute to the Central European countries to overcome some historic tensions and challenges. Finally, Mr. President, dear colleagues, Your Excellencies, I'm honored to announce Hungary's candidature to the Human Rights Council of the United Nations for the term 2017 and 2019. We appreciate those countries who already pledged to support the Hungarian candidature. I would like to make sure here that we are ready to continue to work together with our fellow member states in the United Nations to contribute to make the mechanism of human rights of UN more effective, in order to create a better world for everyone. Mr. President, dear colleagues, Excellencies, thank you very much for your kind attention.
I thank the Minister for Foreign Affairs and Trade of Hungary for his statement. And I now